It was a quiet Sunday morning, the kind where sunlight filters through the curtains just right, and you can smell fresh coffee from the kitchen. I was flipping through an old photo album, pictures of my son Ethan's childhood, when my phone buzzed. The caller ID read, Ethan. Finally, I murmured, smiling as I picked up. Good morning, sweetheart. So, when are you bringing your girlfriend over? You've been dodging the question for months now. There was a pause on the line, a long, uncomfortable silence. Then a soft, hesitant voice answered, but it wasn't Ethan. Hello, Mrs. Carter. It's, it's Lily. My heart skipped. Lily, Ethan's girlfriend, the one I'd only seen once in passing, months ago. Oh, Lily. Hello, dear, I said warmly. I was just teasing Ethan about you. Tell me, when's the wedding? I'm dying to know when I get to buy my hat and dance at your reception. Another silence. I could hear faint noises, a car door closing, the sound of the wind. Then her voice trembled slightly as she said words that made my world freeze. We got married yesterday. For a moment, I thought I'd misheard. I'm sorry, what? Ethan and we got married yesterday, Mrs. Carter. It was a small ceremony, just us. The words echoed like thunder. Married? Yesterday? Without me? Without his family? I felt something sink deep in my chest. Not just shock, but something heavier. A quiet ache. My fingers trembled around the phone. I see, I said slowly, struggling to keep my voice steady. Congratulations, I suppose. Lily whispered, thank you, and hung up before I could ask anything else. The silence that followed was suffocating. I sat still, staring at the photo album, a picture of Ethan at 6 years old, grinning with a missing tooth, holding my hand at the park. Now, that same hand wore a wedding ring I'd never seen, and I couldn't shake the question echoing inside me. Why didn't my own son tell me? The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual. My mind replayed Lily's words again and again. We got married yesterday. It didn't feel real. Ethan had always been close to me. He was my only son, my reason to smile after losing his father years ago. He had promised that when he found the one, I'd be the first to know. And now, the promise lay broken like glass underfoot. I decided I needed answers. So I drove to his apartment, a small place he shared with Lily downtown. I baked his favorite cinnamon rolls on the way, maybe to remind him of home, or maybe to remind myself I still mattered. When I knocked, it was Lily who opened the door. Her eyes widened, surprise flickering across her face. She wasn't wearing makeup. Her hair was tied loosely, and there was a nervous energy about her. Mrs. Carter, she stammered, you didn't call. I didn't think I needed an appointment to see my son, I replied softly. Ethan appeared behind her, his expression freezing when he saw me. Mom, what are you doing here? I smiled faintly. Bringing breakfast for the newlyweds. He exchanged a quick look with Lily, then said, Mom, please. Can we talk later? Something in me cracked. The warmth in his voice was gone, replaced by guilt. Later, I asked. You got married without your family, without even a phone call, and now, later? Lily looked down, whispering, It wasn't like that. Please, Mrs. Carter, there's more to it. Before she could finish, Ethan interrupted sharply. Lily, don't. I felt a cold shiver run down my spine. Something was wrong, more than I understood. As I turned to leave, I said quietly, Ethan, secrets don't stay buried forever. Remember that he didn't answer. But as I walked away, I saw Lily's eyes, filled with something that looked a lot like fear. 2 days passed. I didn't hear from Ethan, but that night, an envelope arrived in my mailbox. No name, no return address, just my address, written in shaky handwriting. Inside was a single folded letter and a small photograph. The photo showed Ethan and Lily standing in front of a small courthouse, smiling weakly. But behind them, in the reflection of the glass door, I saw something strange. A man. He stood at a distance watching them. His face was half hidden, but his eyes were fixed directly at the camera. The letter wasn't signed. It only said, "Please don't hate Ethan. He did this to protect someone." My hands trembled. Protect someone? From what? I dialed Ethan's number immediately, but it went straight to voicemail. I called again and again, until finally Lily answered. "Lily," I said urgently, "what's going on? Who was that man in the photo? Why would Ethan need to protect anyone?" She went silent. I could hear her breathing shakily. Then she whispered, "Mrs. Carter, I can't talk on the phone. He's watching us." My blood ran cold. "Who's watching you?" The line went dead. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept that photograph under my pillow, replaying Lily's voice in my head. "He's watching us." For the first time, I felt something stronger than hurt. I felt fear. By morning, I decided I couldn't just sit and wait. I drove to the courthouse, the same one in the photo. I showed the picture to the clerk. "Yes," she said, adjusting her glasses. "They came in 2 days ago. The ceremony was unusual." "Unusual how?" I asked. She lowered her voice. "They seemed nervous, especially your son. He kept looking over his shoulder, and when the ceremony ended, a man in a gray suit walked up to him outside. They argued for a few minutes, then your son rushed Lily into the car." My heart pounded. "Do you know who that man was?" She shook her head. "But I remember something else." The man dropped a card. Security picked it up. She slid a card across the desk. It was slightly torn, but the name was clear. W. Donovan, private investigator. Private investigator? Why would one be near my son's wedding? That afternoon, I searched for the name online. The firm's address was only an hour away. I decided to go. When I arrived, the office was small and dimly lit. A woman behind the desk looked up. "Can I help you?" "I'm looking for Mr. Donovan," I said. Her expression shifted slightly. "I'm afraid Mr. Donovan passed away last week." Car accident, a chill ran through me. Another dead end, literally. But as I turned to leave, the woman called out, "Wait, are you Mrs. Carter?" I froze. "Yes." She nodded slowly. "Then there's something you should see." The woman disappeared into a back room, then returned with a thick brown folder. She handed it to me. "Mr. Donovan said if anyone named Carter came asking, give them this." Inside were printed documents, photos, and a handwritten note. The first page had Ethan's name. Ethan Carter, age 28. Below that, subject under surveillance for potential financial fraud involving Corporation Lennox Tech. "What is this?" I whispered. The woman shrugged. "All I know is, Mr. Donovan was investigating someone tied to that company. Maybe your son was caught in it." I flipped through the pages. Transactions, screenshots, photos of Ethan meeting with older men in suits, one of them outside what looked like a warehouse. Then, tucked in the back, I found something else. A printed email from an unknown sender to Donovan. "He's being threatened. They said they'd hurt her if he didn't cooperate. She doesn't know yet. Keep her safe." There was no name attached, but the timing matched the week before Ethan's wedding. I pressed my hand to my mouth, trembling. They'd hurt her. Was Lily in danger? Was that why he married her in secret? My heart ached with confusion and terror, but also pride. My son wasn't cruel. He was hiding something, maybe even protecting the woman he loved. I closed the folder gently, whispering to myself, Ethan, what have you gotten yourself into? That night, I couldn't stop thinking about that folder. Ethan's name attached to financial fraud didn't sit right. My son might have made mistakes, but he wasn't a criminal. I decided to dig deeper. I logged into Ethan's old shared laptop, the one he'd left at my house months ago. My hands trembled as I clicked through the folders. Buried inside work documents, I found an encrypted file labeled LNX 2024. It asked for a password. I tried everything: birthdays, pet names, even Lily. Nothing worked. Just as I was about to give up, I remembered something. A quote Ethan always loved from his late father. Truth stands tall, even when the wind blows. I typed truth stands at LL. The file opened. Inside were transaction records showing huge amounts of money transferred to an offshore account under Lennox Tech Holdings. The recipient's name, however, wasn't Ethan. It was Alan Rivers. I didn't know who that was, but Ethan's signature appeared on every page. A cold realization hit me. Someone had used Ethan's name and access. Maybe that was why he was being watched. Maybe that's why he married Lily quickly, to protect her from whoever set him up. I printed everything and hid the papers in a kitchen drawer. The next morning, I got a text from an unknown number. Stop looking into Lennox Tech. For your own safety, my blood turned to ice. I drove straight to Ethan's apartment. The door was slightly ajar. Panic rushed through me. Ethan, I called out. No answer. Inside, the place was a mess. Papers scattered, drawers open, their wedding photo cracked on the floor. Lily sat on the couch, her face pale, tears streaking down her cheeks. Lily, what happened? She looked up slowly, her voice trembling. They came last night. 2 men. They said Ethan owes them something. He left before dawn. He told me to go to my mother's place, but I didn't know where else to go. Where did he go? She shook her head. He didn't say, just that he needed to fix everything before it's too late. My heart broke seeing her, the fear, the uncertainty. I held her hand. Lily, listen to me. You're not alone in this. We'll find him. She nodded weakly. There's something I haven't told you. Ethan didn't just marry me out of love. He married me to keep me safe. My father used to work for Lennox Tech. He found out something he shouldn't have before he died. I stared at her, stunned. Your father? She nodded. He left evidence, and someone knows Ethan has it. I felt the room spin. This wasn't just a marriage secret anymore. This was dangerous. Lily and I drove to my house that evening, locking every door behind us. She looked exhausted, a fragile soul carrying a heavy secret. She whispered, Your son told me if anything ever happened to him, to find a blue key in his old guitar case. We went to the attic and found the case, still covered in dust. Inside was a small blue key taped to the back. Safe deposit, I murmured. The next morning, we went to the local bank. The manager looked surprised when I showed him the key. This belongs to a box under Ethan Carter's name, he confirmed. Inside the safe box was a small USB drive, a notebook, and a photo. Ethan and Lily smiling, carefree, on a hilltop. Written on the back, "If you're reading this, it means I couldn't protect you from them. But please, don't stop." The USB contained video recordings, men in suits exchanging briefcases, factory locations, and proof of illegal technology exports. Ethan had been gathering evidence. He wasn't a criminal. He was a whistleblower. Tears filled my eyes. He's risking his life for the truth. Lily whispered, "And now they'll kill him for it." We went straight to the police, but the officer who took our report seemed uninterested. "These are serious accusations," he said flatly, flipping through the files. "Are you sure your son didn't manipulate the data himself?" My voice shook. "My son is being hunted, officer." He sighed, handing back the USB. "We'll look into it." But I saw it, the subtle smirk, the disinterest. Outside, Lily grabbed my arm. "He's one of them." I saw his face at the courthouse. Panic surged through me. We couldn't trust anyone. That night, as we sat in silence, my phone buzzed again. Another message from that unknown number. "You have something that belongs to us. Bring the USB to Pier 12 tonight, or you'll never see Ethan again." Lily gasped. "It's a trap." "I know," I whispered. "But if there's even a chance Ethan's alive." I packed the USB, slipped the blue key into my pocket, and told Lily to stay home. But she refused. "If he's in danger, we both go," she said firmly. And so, under the cover of night, two terrified women drove toward Pier 12, unaware of what waited in the shadows. The wind at the pier was biting cold. Fog curled around the lampposts like ghosts. We walked slowly, scanning the dark water for movement. "Over there," Lily whispered, pointing to a flickering light at the end of the dock. A man in a gray coat stood waiting. His voice echoed when he spoke. "Mrs. Carter, hand over the USB. Where's my son?" I demanded. He smiled faintly. "He's alive." For now, Lily clutched my hand tightly. "You're lying." He tilted his head. "You're right. He won't be alive much longer if you don't cooperate." Before I could reply, a shout came from behind the crates. "Mom, run." It was Ethan, disheveled, bleeding, but alive. Gunfire erupted. I ducked behind a metal container as Ethan tackled one of the men. Lily screamed his name. Chaos filled the air. Then, in the confusion, Ethan grabbed my hand, shoving the USB into my palm. "Take it." "There's a backup location in the notebook. Don't let them destroy it." A gunshot rang out. Ethan stumbled. "No," Lily cried, rushing toward him as I screamed his name into the cold night. The world froze. The sound of the gunshot echoed over the water. And then there was only silence. The kind that crushes your heart before the pain even reaches you. "Ethan," I screamed, rushing forward. Lily was already kneeling beside him, her trembling hands pressing against the blood soaking his shirt. He looked up at me, eyes glassy but alive. "Mom, it's okay," he whispered. "No, it's not," I sobbed. "You're going to be fine, baby. Just hold on." But before I could call for help, the sound of sirens filled the air. The men in gray scattered like shadows, disappearing into the fog. Two police cars screeched to a halt nearby, lights flashing red and blue. One officer ran toward us. "Drop your weapons," he shouted. "We don't have any," I cried. "My son's been shot." They loaded Ethan into an ambulance, but as it drove away, one officer pulled me aside. "Mrs. Carter, we'll need to question you." You're part of an active federal case now. His tone wasn't kind. It was cold, procedural, as if Ethan were already guilty. Hours later, I sat in a sterile waiting room while doctors worked to save my son. Lily sat beside me, silent, her hands clenched tight in prayer. Then, finally, a nurse emerged. "He's stable," she said softly, "but he's under police custody. They believe he's involved in the Lennox Tech case." I felt my knees go weak. "He's the victim," I whispered. The nurse looked away. Sometimes the line between victim and suspect isn't so clear. But I knew better. I knew my son. And I swore to myself I would clear his name, no matter what it took. The next morning, while Ethan was still unconscious, I went through the hospital waiting area and noticed a man sitting quietly with a newspaper. When he saw me, he folded it. And for a split second, our eyes met. It was the same man from the courthouse photo. My pulse quickened. I walked toward him, but he rose calmly and said, "Mrs. Carter, you shouldn't be here." "Who are you?" I demanded. He hesitated, then showed me a badge. Internal Affairs Division. "My name is Agent Cooper," he said. "I was investigating Lennox Tech with your son." "What?" "Ethan was working with us as a confidential informant. He discovered illegal data transfers and corporate espionage that went deep, too deep. We told him to lay low, but he insisted on marrying Lily first." "Why?" I asked softly. "Because she was being targeted. Her father's research was at the center of the conspiracy. They killed him, and they would have killed her next." My stomach turned. And now Ethan's being accused of the same crimes he tried to expose. Cooper nodded grimly. "They've framed him well, but there's still one file missing, the one that can clear his name." "The backup," I whispered, remembering Ethan's words at the pier. "Yes," Cooper said. "Find it before they do." And then, before I could say another word, he vanished into the crowd. Back home, I opened Ethan's notebook, the one from the safe deposit box. Pages of scribbled notes, diagrams, and timestamps filled every inch. At the very end, a page was torn, but faintly visible were the words, "Backup, old cabin, Cedar Lake." Cedar Lake, our family's old cabin from years ago, the one Ethan's father built before he passed. It had been abandoned for years. Lily stood beside me, trembling. "Do you think the file is there?" I nodded. "We'll go at dawn." The next morning, fog covered the lake like a curtain. The cabin creaked as we entered. Dust, cobwebs, and silence filled the air. But under the old floorboard near the fireplace, we found a metal box. Inside was a second USB drive, a letter, and a photograph of Ethan as a child sitting on his father's shoulders. The letter read, "If you're reading this, it means they came for me. But the truth must survive. Give this to Agent Cooper. Trust no one else." Lily and I exchanged a look. Just then, the floor creaked behind us. A shadow moved near the doorway. "Drop it," a voice snarled. We froze. 3 men stood at the door, the same ones from the pier. One of them stepped forward, grabbing Lily by the arm. "Where's the drive?" I hid it behind my back, shaking. "I don't know what you're talking about." He smirked. "Your son was smarter than you. Too bad he didn't live to finish what he started." "Ethan's alive," I shouted. "Not for long," he hissed. Before I could react, headlights flashed outside. A black SUV sped toward the cabin. The men scattered. A voice over a megaphone shouted, "FBI, drop your weapons." Agent Cooper stepped out of the SUV, aiming his gun. Within minutes, the men were on the ground, handcuffed. Cooper turned to me. You did it, Mrs. Carter. Do you have the backup? I handed him the drive, tears filling my eyes. Please, save my son. He nodded. We will. This changes everything. For the first time in days, I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, the nightmare was ending. But I was wrong. That night, Cooper called. His voice was tight, hurried. Mrs. Carter, the evidence was stolen from headquarters. My heart stopped. What do you mean, stolen? He whispered. Someone on the inside is working for Lennox Tech. You and Lily need to disappear. We left before dawn. The sky was pale gray, the world eerily quiet. I packed only essentials, documents, photos, the last remaining copy of Ethan's notebook. We drove north toward a small town where no one knew us. Lily sat silently, staring out the window. After hours of silence, she spoke. Do you think Ethan will forgive me? For what? I asked softly. For being the reason he's in this mess, she said, tears streaming down her face. If I hadn't come into his life, he'd be safe. I shook my head. No, Lily. You gave him a reason to fight. You're not his weakness. You're his strength. We stopped at a quiet diner off the highway. I checked my phone. Dozens of missed calls from unknown numbers. Then one message popped up from Ethan's phone. Mom, safe now. Don't trust Cooper. My breath caught. He's alive, I whispered. But what does he mean, don't trust Cooper? Lily looked terrified. Wasn't he the one helping us? I stared out the window, suddenly realizing, in this web of secrets and lies, even allies might wear masks. And somewhere out there, my son was alive, but still in danger. The message from Ethan replayed in my mind. Don't trust Cooper. The man who'd risked his life at the cabin had betrayed us. I looked at Lily. We can't stay here. We packed quickly and left the diner, heading toward the nearest motel. I turned off my phone and paid in cash. The walls of the room felt thin, the air heavy with fear. That night, Lily couldn't sleep. Mrs. Carter, she whispered, if Cooper's working for them, what if he already knows where we are? I opened the notebook again, desperate for clues. Between 2 pages, I found something I'd missed before. A thin strip of paper taped to the inside cover. It had coordinates written in Ethan's handwriting. Fort Shelby, I murmured. That's an abandoned military site. Lily's eyes widened. You think he's hiding there? Or being kept there, I said. The next morning, we drove out, 120 miles through silent woods until the road vanished into dirt. The ruins of Fort Shelby appeared like ghosts from another century. We parked and approached quietly. Inside, the air smelled of dust and rust. Then I heard it, a faint cough echoing down the corridor. Ethan, I whispered. A weak voice answered, Mom? I ran toward the sound, heart racing. And there he was, bruised, exhausted, chained to a chair, but alive. Lily rushed forward, crying as she freed him. He winced as she hugged him. Lily, Mom, how did you find me? Your note. Your message, I said. He looked over my shoulder, panic flashing in his eyes. You weren't followed? Before I could answer, footsteps thundered behind us. Agent Cooper stepped out of the shadows, gun drawn. I'm impressed, he said. You were always clever, Ethan. But it ends here. Why? I shouted. You pretended to help us. He smirked. Because Lennox Tech pays better. Your son uncovered the one secret that could destroy them. And me. Lily clutched Ethan's arm. We have the evidence, she said. It's over. Cooper laughed. You think I'd let you leave alive? Just then, sirens wailed outside. A dozen vehicles. Cooper froze, eyes wide. Ethan smiled faintly. You shouldn't have used my phone, Cooper. I traced it before you grabbed me. Within seconds, federal agents stormed the building, arresting Cooper and his men. As the chaos settled, Ethan turned to me. Mom, it's over. I hugged him tightly. No, sweetheart. It's just beginning. Weeks later, the news broke nationwide. Lennox Tech executives arrested for corporate espionage and murder cover-up. Ethan was cleared of all charges. He was hailed as a whistleblower, the man who risked everything to expose corruption. Reporters camped outside our home for days, but I didn't care about the headlines. All I cared about was that my son was alive, and justice had finally spoken. One evening, as we sat around the table, Lily reached for my hand. Mrs. Carter, I owe you an apology. For what, dear? For marrying Ethan without telling you. We didn't want to hide it, but we knew they were watching. The ceremony was our way of creating legal protection for each other. If something happened to him, I'd have access to his case files. I smiled through tears. You saved him, Lily. That's what matters. Ethan looked between us and chuckled softly. You two are more alike than you think. For the first time in months, laughter filled our home again. But deep down, I knew the scars would linger, not from the danger, but from the silence that nearly tore us apart. A month later, while sorting through Ethan's recovered belongings, I found a sealed envelope addressed to me, written in his handwriting. It was dated 3 days before his wedding. Mom, if you ever read this, it means I couldn't tell you the truth in time. I didn't want you to worry, and I didn't want to bring darkness into your life again. You've already lost Dad to the fight for what's right. I couldn't risk you losing me the same way. Please forgive me for marrying Lily without you there. I did it out of love and fear. Love for her and fear for what the truth might cost. Whatever happens, remember this. You raised me to fight for honesty. That's the man I'll always be. Ethan. Tears blurred the words, but my heart felt light. My son hadn't betrayed me. He had simply lived the lessons his father once taught him: courage, integrity, and love without conditions. Months passed. The city healed. So did we. One quiet evening, I sat in the garden, watching the sunset. Lily came out with tea, her wedding ring glinting softly in the light. Ethan joined her, slipping his arm around her shoulders. I smiled. You two have been through more than most people could handle. Ethan nodded. But we made it, Mom. Because of you, I chuckled. No, my dear. Because of truth, he looked thoughtful. You know, when we got married that day, I thought I was saving her. But now I realize, love only survives when it's built on truth. Everything else eventually burns away. Lily added softly, and sometimes the people we think we're protecting are the ones who end up saving us. The wind rustled through the trees, carrying a sense of peace I hadn't felt in a long time. I whispered to myself, he didn't betray me. He became the man his father dreamed he'd be.